I'm going to do a little sound check for the. Okay, so if you are watching virtually online, I want to do, this is a little sound check. So if you want to reply in the chat box on YouTube that you can hear me or you can't, thank you. And we'll get started in just a minute or two. Sure to get me in the picture. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Jim Lundy. I'm president of the Poetry Society. I'm glad to see you here. We have people online as well, and this is the culmination of our year, the May Forum. It's happened every May for the last almost every May since 1921. The only other two were the 1939 polio epidemic and the 2020 COVID epidemic. Those were the only two things that kept us from doing a May Forum in the last 105 years. This is the 738th meeting of the Poetry Society, and this here tonight is our oldest tradition. We don't do anything more often than the May Forum. So it's a special occasion, and this is where we're going to pick the forum winner, and it's going to be tough. I think you've got the poems there, but it's going to be an interesting competition. 100 years ago this month, almost to the day, May 19th, the Poetry Society gathered for the forum, and one of the things they did, it was the last time that they awarded the Blind Man Prize, and it was a very prestigious prize. In today's dollars, it was the winner received $4,700 for the Blind Man Prize in today's dollars, and they gave it away for about 3-4 years. But then the person who was sponsoring it went broke when he got a very, very nasty divorce settlement. Very bad for his side, and so he went broke. He couldn't fund the blind man anymore. But the winner that year was Ruth Manning Sanders, who was primarily known as a children's author, but she won the forum, the Blind Man Prize, and it was an exceedingly long poem. So normally the Poetry Society published the Blind Man in the yearbook. This poem ran 86 pages long. And so they were wondering how they'd afford to publish that and the yearbook. And luckily, after some delays, Ruth decided to have it published on her own. She lived in England, and she had it published. And that book, I went online, and there are copies of that book still available. Not like still, but from that original printing, they're out there. You can get them on eBay and some of the rare book dealers. So my birthday's coming up in September. I would love to see that, but I've never actually seen the book. In honor of Ruth Manning Sanders, our door prizes tonight. If you look on your ballot, The introduction of Len Lawson at the top, it's the fifth one down, introduction to Len Lawson, it should say Lael Chambers. If it says Ruth Manning Sanders, you have won the door prize. All right? All right. All right, congratulations. I cannot vouch for those books, but they are your prize, and do with them what you will. Now, tonight we are going to announce our prizes. We don't have anything in the $4,700 range, but we are giving away a bunch of money tonight. Before we do that, I'm going to give a little year in review, because this is the end of our membership year. It's been a very good year for the Poetry Society. We have done everything we tried to do, I think, successfully, except for we weren't always able to live stream, and that is disappointing because we had some really good poets in Greenville I wanted to watch, and I couldn't. But we're going to work on that, make that better, because that is what truly makes us a statewide organization. And we are alive tonight, so, whoa, 8 people there, so a lot of them are want to see if they won or not, so I'll make this kind of quick. But among other things, we saw the resurgence of the Writers Group. The Writers Group is part of the Poetry Society going all the way back to the very beginning. And for quite a few years, it languished. We didn't have one. And Lael Chambers took it upon herself to send out the invites, and we now have 3 functioning writers groups in South Carolina. One in Beaufort, very hot and heavy, down at the Pat Conroy Center. One in Charleston, doing really well and continuing through the summer. And another one in Columbia, which is relatively new. So I feel really good about that, because the educational component of the Poetry Society was always important, and we kind of dropped the ball on that. So I'm glad to have those writers groups back. And our membership really did well this year. We got a good rebound of memberships, and we also, interestingly enough, we added quite a few lifetime members to our list. So I'm really proud of that. In fact, our newest lifetime member is here, Clifton Campbell, brand new lifetime member. And sadly, we lost our first lifetime membership expired with Nancy Dew Taylor. She was one of the early adopters of the lifetime membership, and she just passed away this year. I was kind of sorry about that. She was our Greenville person. She was, for years and years, she was doing stuff for us in Greenville, and she was a real pleasure. She was also on the board, and she would attend the board's meetings virtually, and that was sad. And also recently, I mean, it was really personal to me, is we lost Helen Brandenburg. She in fact holds the record still of the longest serving treasurer of the Poetry Society. And she did such a great job. And she was also funny. She was hilarious, I would have to say. I enjoyed being around Helen every single time it was. I think she was an introvert, and I think being around people was hard for her, but God, it was good for us, like being around her. And we also lost Carol Furtwängler, who is kind of a superstar in the Poetry Society, and this was last summer. It was in the early stages of this calendar year. She was president of the Poetry Society, and she was also hilarious, real barrel of laughs, and I was really sorry about that. Additionally, we lost Jane Tyler, who served as vice president in the 1990s, and she was a real backbone of the Poetry Society for a long time. We lost John Jacob in Aiken, who was a relatively new member, and I was hoping to meet him when I was in Aiken. He was getting treatment that day, and then he passed away not too long after that. So we lost him. We lost Ann Igo. Does anyone remember Ann Igo? She was a dancer, but also into poetry. She, of all these people, went back the farthest in the Poetry Society. She was a member since the 1950s. And she was, she was like patrician. She had the old Charleston charm. And she was a class act. And her husband, her ex-husband, Skipper Igo, is the one who donated, I guess they together donated, that Shakespearean Jacobean collection in the back room there. I don't know if everyone's seen that, but it's very impressive. But anyway, she was doing well. She was going to start her own book club, and she got pneumonia. She was well before that. So anyway, these are the losses we've had this year. But other than that, I am very proud of this year. Last year, we were not in such good shape. We had to rebuild the board almost completely from scratch. We also had to come up with the programming, and that was kind of a minor miracle. We had Elizabeth, Robin, and Miho put together a program faster than you can imagine, and it was great. And the next one's ready for next year. So we are really hitting home runs on programming, and I'm very proud of that. And I also want to thank the board. Like I said, we had a really terrific board this year. Just a lot of energy, a lot of taking action. And I want to thank everyone, Lael, Tina, who else is we? Oh, Ed Gold. It's been great. Thank you. And thank you for those who are not here, maybe if you're watching virtually, thank you for being on the board this year. We have almost everybody coming back and one new member, Dan Hawkins, who is going to come on board for one replacement. So anyway, that will be my cue to start the board elections, and to do that is Tina Bamas.
Welcome, friends, here and live streamed. We're so glad you could join us tonight. Those of you here, you can follow along on the front sheet of your papers. And those at home, you can go ahead and listen. I'll try and announce everybody that's on our board proposed. Our proposed slate for the Poetry Society of South Carolina board for the upcoming 2026-2027 calendar year. President, Jim Lundy Jr., Vice President, Lael Chambers, Treasurer, Charlie Lord, Recording Secretary, Aaron Granberry, Corresponding Secretary, Dan Hawkins, Members at Large, myself, Ed Gold, Miho Keenas, Jackie Markham, Elizabeth Robin, and Charles Watts. Does anybody have any objections before we start to vote? All in favor of the new board, say aye. Aye. Anybody against it? Typical fashion, unanimous. Thank you all.
Hey, everybody. We've got contest winners. First, we'll do the Skylark last, the grand finale, our high school student from Greenville. So, the 2025, 2026 spring competitions. And thank you, Charles Watts actually does all the work, but he's at Lake Placid, so I get to be up here instead of him. I didn't do anything, but Charles is wonderful. So the South Carolina Nature Conservancy Prize winner, William Ramsey. Is William Ramsey here? No, but our honorable mention winner is here, Judith Reese. Okay. Are you sending checks to the, you didn't hand me any this time, yeah.
I've got the checks here. If anyone's here, one, I can hand it out.
Okay, so if you, we'll see if it's true. So the John H. Bennett Jr. Prize winner, Dan Leach, for still life number 42, Radish and Porcelain Bowl. The judge said, I love the detail in this poem and the perfectly phrased question around which the poem revolves. What here doesn't want to be read, R-E-D, what here doesn't want to be read when read is what remembers you? Ruth Nicholson was honorable mention on that one. And on the first one, the judge's comments on William Ramsey. This poem succeeds by creating its own singular ambiance and ecosystem, a thick coexistence in which human consciousness inhabits non-human nature and vice versa. And each side retains its impenetrability, its authority, its integrity, its mystery. All right, if anybody knows what that meant, I want you to come up and talk to me after this. All right, the Oliver Bowman Memorial Prize winner, Oliver. I took over Skylark from Oliver. He had the most amazingly organized box of stuff in the world. Oliver was such a sweet, wonderful man. First place for Sweet Tooth, Jacob Beckwith Grodin, or Grodin. And Dan Leach won honorable mention. Well, I'm not going to read the comments because the poet's not here. You know. Oh, he might be there. Okay, the judge's comments. That's right, Jacob, if you're out there. There is a kind of rhyming poem whose pleasure is measured by the near transparency of its rhyme. So natural is its speech, and so well fit is its mode to its matter. The poem's celebration of indulgence is at once an ode, elegy, and love letter. The Peter Pan Prize, Dan Leach, so he's got already an honorable mention and a first prize, The Dirty Kid. It's difficult to write about children without succumbing to sentimentality. It's difficult to be funny. This poem clears both hurdles while creating an exquisite portrait of a child who moves easily through a difficult world with an innocence in which adults are complicit. And Deborah Daniel won honorable mention for that one. Moving on to the Dr. Linda Veldheer Memorial Prize winner, William Ramsey. Merci sans la belle dame. Stunning opening stanza that carries the poem through to its haunting ending. Ellen Malfris won honorable mention. Moving onward, Tim Conroy, who I see is not here. Is he? No? The Dana Burnett Prize winner, A Gardener's Journal. The judge said, beautiful attention to sound and imagery in this poem, and honorable mentions Deborah Daniel and Lisa Sloan. And finally, Dan Leach, the Scotty Davis Watson Prize winner, Mushroom Fragments. These small observational studies capture with deft economy the essential unknowability of nature and the marvel of its unending proliferation while evoking the pleasures of attention, the forest, and of poetry. And Grace Claire, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, Prisuera was honorable mention. So congratulations, winners and honorables. Very good, very good. And there is hope for the future, because now we get to Skylark, which are our high school students. We had a lot of poems. We really bounced back from last year. We had over 100 submissions from about 30 schools all over the state. And it was the hardest one. we had 24 semifinalists who were good enough to be pushed on to the next stop. And then the poor judges, Susan Finch Stevens and Mariah Martin, winnowed it down to 7. And Kit Loney, our final judge, picked the winner. And it's I hope he's watching, Ellison Peace from the South Carolina Governor's School for the Arts and Humanities, won with this really wonderful poem. And unfortunately, we hope he's watching. And here is the poem. Now, there actually were 2 titles for this. And one of them, the one he really wants is, Cindy Darnell smokes a cigarette in a parking lot and is forcibly reminded of her father. And the off title is Cindy Darnell fosters a gamecock. I read that to you for a reason. So here we go. Cindy Darnell smokes a cigarette in a parking lot and is forcibly reminded of her father. Thank you, Ellison. The pitter-patter of little spurs on linoleum echo in the too big house. Odors of cigar smoke and aftershave linger, but barnyard musk overwhelms. He crows for attention she is intent on providing. After 7 years in the ring, tattered coxcomb, blind eye, tan-lined finger, stripped to moleskin stubbly with pin feathers prickling at every offense. And though her calves are bloodied, she knows he does not mean it. So she walks on eggshells, keeps laying down newspapers, and lets him strut his stuff. Thank you, Ellison. Thank you all. Congratulations to Ellison. We had a second place. Two kids from the Charleston County School of the Arts took second place in honorable mention. Elegy to Light by Lucille Harper, and Luna Transient by Isla McCain. So thank you all. We'll see you next year. And Ellison, I hope you're out there watching. Join the Poetry Society.
Right. Hi, everybody. Lael Chambers, Vice President. I know you're all wondering, and yes, I'm fine. Just punched a sidewalk, took exception to a crack. So, but you should see the sidewalk. All right. So good evening, everyone. For over a century, the Poetry Society of South Carolina has served as a home for the practice of craft and a witness to the evolving voices of poets. Tonight, we are honored to host a poet whose work embodies the spirit of witnessing with extraordinary power and precision. Dr. Len Lawson is Director of African American Studies and Assistant Professor of English at Newberry College, and a transformative figure on our literary landscape. He is the author of Negro Asylum for the Lunatic Insane and Chime, and we are particularly excited for his new book, New Names for Stars, which was recently honored with the 2025 Lit Fox Award. Len is what we might call the ultimate inside eye. He does not merely look at history or the archives from a distance. He inhabits them. He translates the silence of the past into a living, breathing present, reimagining the possibilities of the future through the lens of deep truth. It is this unique clarity of vision that makes him the perfect guide for our annual May Forum. Len will begin tonight by sharing some of his own work, which I'm really excited to hear. And then he will lead us through the forum contest. He has curated 3 finalists from the entries submitted, and he will moderate our discussion as we engage with these poems together to select our winner. Please join me in welcoming a witness, a visionary, and our moderator for the evening, Dr. Len Lawson.
All right, good evening. Can everyone hear me? Hope you can hear me online. Hey, online folks. So it's gonna be really challenging for me to pretend like I'm a stranger or a guest because I don't think I'm either of those things whenever I come to Charleston and discuss poetry. Just last year, I was reading at the Piccolo Spoleto Festival, and that was a wonderful time. And I was just talking to Jim earlier about the last time I was moderating the annual forum, which I believe was 2018. So, I was like a little kid back then, you know. But I still remember that, and I like to refer to myself as like the cousin from upstate that sort of visits every now and then because I always get to come back, and it's very gracious, I guess, to get to be invited back. Conduct yourself in such a way that people want to have you back. So that's always a good thing. So I'm gonna get right to it. Thank you, Leo, for that beautiful introduction. I guess I gotta live up to that now. Yes, I do have a new collection. It's called New Names for Stars. Look at the cover, isn't it beautiful? Lovely cover. I'm so excited about that. It just released beginning of this month, so I hope you'll want to get one of those while I'm here. I love the word in the introduction of witness, which I think plays a lot into this collection because I really did not try to write to something with a lot of these poems. I was just like, dealing with a blank canvas, and I wanted to just see like where my mind would go and just follow whatever voices came up from those. So the first, I guess, third of this book are untitled poems, and so that's where I'll start with some of these, okay? A boy with his mother's robe tied around his neck will climb a tree trunk, coil his legs on a limb, spring into the air, and touch ground before his belly reaches his throat. The cruelty of this world would have us believe that falling is flying, that the shoulder blades never secreted wings. Gravity is a bully, shattering the desire for liftoff, crushing the burden of imagination, stifling our tongues from the taste of clouds. The God of this world even said so when he struck down the tower of men as they erected it toward his throne, to see the wildness in their eyes for construction, to feel their hearts kindle and snap like a winter fire, tearing the flesh from their bones like the caped boy landing on his knees, knowing they would one day soon see and be their God. No more mindful than the winged insect who loses its memory of home, smacked down by the hand of mercy, or like the boy landing on his knees, upset he didn't fly. So this is another untitled. For a long time, this was the first poem in the manuscript, but my editor thought otherwise, so I'm going to read this one. They call it a hit when a movie draws a substantial audience, when a song receives many streams, when a play packs the theater night after night. A hit, the impact of an object striking another, leaving both parties bruised, flawed, forever changed by trauma. Peculiar how the violence of success ignites adoration, fandom, raucous applause. The smack of flesh on flesh breeds such delight. Bone crashing into bone, flesh into stone. Lucifer crashed to the earth with this violence. Tail of a comet desperately dragging behind him, a conflagration of bruise engulfing his aura. Then sudden impact, lightning kiss of prince and stone, marriage of dust and breath. Now that was a hit. He walked away without even a limp, smiled, dusted off his jewels, took his bow. Another untitled. Point somewhere in the blackness to a kernel of light and say, baby, this one is yours. Hold her close on a cool meadow, a blanket sealing your bond. She shudders at the loss of a streaking tear down the galaxy of her cheek. Dares not gaze longer into your eyes than you can see the blurry blink of light. The star has cried too, winced at how you gave it a master, turned its back before the scream of its budding, before it swallows your next generation's whole. Tell your child it twinkled that night. Your seed will smile back, yet stars too are only seeds, planted by a patient hand. In the night sky, you see only an echo of its pulse, a beating heart struggling to thrive in the womb. Your child prays to it because she has never beheld the destiny of a merciless star. If you're going to name a star after her mother, how long are you willing to wait for its bursting? So you can probably hear from a number of these, like the whole celestial star type theme, which again, I wasn't necessarily attempting to write to that, but as this was building into a collection or a book, I noticed that that was happening. So this is another untitled. In a dream, I prepared an African dish for the first time, scooping it from a barrel with my fingers in my homeland. The lush, creamy texture warmed my hand. Bright like red dirt I played in as a child, caking up my bike tires in acres of wildness, making pies with the dirt, communing with the crust of millennia. Some days cracked and dry, but on the best days, malleable, submissive. The food never reached my mouth. I served everyone around me with hollow bellies. I kept hearing its name, Monane, from the dream. I had never heard of this food in my life, ancestry beckoning me while I slept. I awoke and researched the dish, hoping for confirmation. Watched YouTube videos of Africans preparing it from vats of cattle blood poured into barrels, adding shanks of chicken and vegetables, but the blood dominated the dish. Nothing like I prepared in the dream, a frightening brightness. In the red dirt once, I tumbled across the handlebars and hurled my body into the clay that formed me. I packed some into my bloody, exposed knee, springing forth with the pain of a dream. The flow celebrated a ritual feast, slushing with a moan of stirring. This I could mix, churn, master, the relentless pouring of the Monane, red waves feeding, drowning, my past, my future. Okay, so we get to some titles now. This is called Slush. Love the way the word feels in my mouth. The ghost word is slut. I want to redefine it. A ministry of celestials, a slush of stars. Aren't they really just filthy balls of gas anyway? Is not the matter in our bodies the matter of stars? Were we not slush before we were born? A passionate slush of bodies squelching as one. The word ends in SH to translate its motion. amniotic fluid with the memory of something pure like water. A flow of goodnesses once holy, but now a delicious wreck. A mess, clutter dumped after beauty, dirty astrophysics. Bury me in a slush of stars. If I transition from this life to the next, light scrubbed from my eyes, call me by this name. I'm rejoining the slush that birthed me. All right, so the collection is not only about, I guess, space futurism, that type of thing, but it's also about mental health. I just come off the heels of Negro Asylum, which was all about Black mental health, and it was like a narrative sort of art to it. So some of that was continually in my mind, I guess, when I was crafting some of these poems. So it's not only about reaching out, but it's also about reaching in. So this is called Flail. Noun, verb. The ghost word sounds like fly. And I think just because my feet are off the ground, because I can see rooftops and taste dusty clouds, that I'm soaring. But the word really means whip, beating, or flogging, a scythe to separate wheat from my weeds, a weapon to crack the flesh open like a luscious peach. When I say anxiety arises from my flesh like a celestial, when I say depression rides me like a haint, I mean I'm flailing. Meat springing from my bones, squelching, bursting, flapping its curtains of shredded skin. But when I say I'm flailing, don't hold me down like a flagpole. Don't grip me too hard like the scythe I am. I'm here for the tears, the redness, bruising and blotching, the gush and the grind. The ghost word is really fail. Watch me flail my way through another day. A broken eagle hovering, then clutching air, aimless. So the cover, you would think, okay, new names for stars, you would think there'd be like planets or something on the cover, or like galaxies or something on the cover, but when it was brought to me, I was like, oh, but my publisher decided that this little tiny poem tucked in the middle was useful for the cover, so see if you can figure out why. This is called Panic Attack. Occasionally, an elephant will rest her hind legs, bend her rickety knees loud enough to hear. The hinges screech, haunches deflating the ground's chest. Nothing will move this mastodon from her place until she is ready to break. The same energy she gathers to stand is the same energy she gathers to trumpet, a blasting breath, rumbling her own ground of a chest. All right, so neat little backstory on this next one. I had a neighbor who I wrote this one about, and he is like huge now. He has a business of I want to say bouncers, like in Florence. So a security business, and so they're like bouncers, and at different clubs. And he's like this really huge guy. You think he's like a wrestler or something where he had to use his body, but he wasn't always like that. And so he always had these wild stories. And so I actually, when I wrote the poem, I told him I wrote a poem about you, and I was like kind of ducking because I didn't know what he was going to do after that. Because he's a lot bigger than me now, but he said, I gave it to him and he was like, that's cool. So, all right, we're in the clear, so I can read this. But this is called Bari's Law. The ground carved under Bari's knee when he fell off the school bus, tripped over his bow legs, crossing his school shoes left over right, trying to catch me in our race home. His teeming backpack provoked the first law of motion. His mouth erupted in screams as the lava burst from his leg. He ran even faster from his daddy, bare chest, belt in hand around their trailer. Stampede of a man caught Bari tripping again over those feet, hemorrhaging screams. Bari theorized Newton his whole life. I heard once at recess he went ape on another kid, but paused to scale a nearby fence, beat his own chest, and scream, building kinetic energy, before his massive fist accelerated into the kid's face. I heard the prison quake from his gravitational force stomping some dude's head, blood-stained boots and screams in physics. He grew bigger than his daddy, who died chasing some dream that wouldn't trip for him like Bari. A tank now, with a sonic boom laugh when we met in passing back home, still scarred from the stitches. He walked away this time, never needs to run again, got momentum after getting out. Those feet friction the earth's axis, bracing for pressure, one touching the other, screaming to touch. All right, I guess I'm gonna do a couple more here and then we'll get on with the forum. This one has a long title, so went about a third of the book with no title, so then I had to dump all the titles into this one poem. So this is true story. This is called My South Carolina Concealed Weapons Permit Instructor Notices that my driver's license mistakenly indicates I am not a black male. That's the whole title. The word black is a gong in the lady's throat, scrapes the walls of her cheeks, cracks her uvula, searches the worn grooved tongue, rolls itself around, a dog learning to scratch its back in tall grass, lolling tongue escaping the beast's mouth through jagged bone. Between us, a steel shadow clutches the instructor's hip, echoing in her laugh where she finds a home. I want to hide in its emptiness, bury my head in its barrel, rest it below the hammer's punch, baptize myself in its imminent fire. She seals my documents with a milky tongue, holds my indigo-stained fingers to the pad, the ink still fresh from my Igbo brethren, crushing the plants on Beaufort shores. I'm just up the road from their bones in John's Island sand. I hear their hollow blade my tongue with their chants, fish my heart with flaming nets, rife with gun smoke, brooding. I am boiling dye, simmering in a cauldron. My stench rises to her nostrils. My ringing hands remember the shot I just aimed, flames just tamed, quenching my people's thunder. No, we are not the same. She feels I will not laugh with her. She releases my soiled fingers. I release her cold shadow. All right, and this will be my last one. A delivery truck flies the Confederate flag in Myrtle Beach. I too have been a rebel in my day. Desire for sand in my crevices, blanketing my naked body with the ocean, a conch shell where the fig leaf should be. Wearing the night like skin, the stars only in my teeth. You haven't released your soul to the universe until you return your body to the waters who birthed you, who judged your life to determine if your breath was worth puckering its lips to your mouth and blowing, rippling through you, your tongue red with life, like this paralyzing fabric on the back of a moving truck. No waving, haunting, a relic, dry as the bone of a conch shell. Red light suspends time enough for history to whip the night of my body. I clutched the soul I thought I released. Anger surfs through me like this truck's dangling red sail, turning a street toward rebellion. Yet do I marvel at the fabric of the universe, the stars crisscrossing my teeth through me, those shooting stars. Thank you very much. All righty, so get to the exciting part. I made my own comments on these, but I would love to get everyone's ideas about the poem. So I'm going to read them as they are in the bulletin, and then hopefully we'll have some discussion, and then I'll share some things that I noticed. So the first one is a dream in which my aunt takes cuttings. It's okay to read the poems, right? Yeah, I think, no matter how many times you read it, there's still something that could be heard, read, understood the more times you read a poem. So absolutely. It was my aunt's house, I was sure, even though the kitchen wasn't thick with cigarette smoke as I remember it, but sunlit, a kind of clarity. And it was definitely Aunt Betty, though she is dead now. The way it is when they come back to us, different but somehow still themselves. There were plants hanging luxurious and green from the ceiling across several rooms with clusters of lilac and liver-colored blooms. She clipped 2 dangling stems with scissors, gave them to me, smiled, and in the breathless voice I knew, told me to put them in a glass of water, said that they would root. So I'm just going to throw some things out there, and whatever you guys are feeling, we can discuss. What do you notice about the structure, the way it's written, the lines, the imagery, whatever you're feeling about the poem?
Modern sonnet.
There we go. That'll get us started, right? Modern day sonnet. I like to call it the American sonnet because, we just take stuff and do whatever we want with it from other places, right? Yeah. Sonnet form, okay. Maybe it's taking the sonnet form and using it for the content of the poem, perhaps. What else sort of strikes us there? Absolutely no hand raising will be allowed, just go ahead.
I think that it does bring, there is a love one, the subject of this poem feels like it is a loved one. The loved one is the memory of family. It's not specific, but it just brings back, those tender moments of time spent. Also really enjoy the consonants, a lot of the descriptive words, lilac, liver color, lots of L's, and kind of lyrical consonants.
Nice, love that. Luxurious lilac, liver colored. Absolutely. All right. Young man in the front.
Yes. Doctor, thank you. I really like this fact that she dreamed the kitchen without a cigarette smoke, which clearly it had in reality, but now she's dreaming it a different way. And then she says, and there's definitely Aunt Betty, though she is dead now. The way it is when they come back to us, different, but somehow still themselves.
Yeah.
Really works really nicely for me. But the whole thing about the cuttings and replanting them in this future growth, and it's really a sweet image.
Mhm. Yeah, I was hoping we would get to some psychoanalysis, put on our therapist hats. So, oh, yes, we have some more hands. Okay, yes.
To me, the thing that started the poem seems a dream,
Right.
but it's a dream, it's a typical dream that we have. I know many people have had the same dream. I have too. It's when you lose someone.
Mm-hmm.
And very soon after you lose someone, it's more like a visitation
Yeah.
than a dream.
Right.
So it's kind of a visitation.
That's right.
Of course, it's worked over with a great deal of skill.
Mm-hmm.
But at its heart, it's a visitation.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had those myself with my dad, who passed away when I was really young, and then he would just be sitting at the kitchen table, like I'm like, "Where you been?" In a dream, like So my mind couldn't catch up with it, right? So yeah, I've had those too. Tina, you had your hand up.
I just love that was talking about two different planes because you can take the picture of something dangling from above and the imagery that it's a dream and it's someone that's passed, and then the offering where it's a shoot that's being offered in green and healthy and then immersed in water, and there's kind of that religious undertow to it as well because this is an image of somebody that they obviously cared about, and here's still about them, and they feel their presence.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a few comments, and then I'm gonna hurry along here. So I said this is a talented take on the sonnet form with some turns that keep us alert. We talked about the dream motif of it. Dream poems perk our imaginations and give writers liberty to suspend our disbelief and challenge our perceptions of reality. The title prepares us for this and alludes to an action forthcoming, almost like a movie trailer. We become interested in Aunt Betty in the early lines and wonder what has brought the speaker back to Betty's home after her death. We also wonder why Betty has left the living and what she desires to leave behind for the speaker or even for the world, right? I enjoyed the layers of this poem, so I have a lot of references to other poems in my notes, like Ozymandias' beautiful sonnet, which dives deeper with each line into the dimensions of inception. So it made me think of the movie Inception, when they go like levels deeper and deeper and deeper into dreams. You got to see that movie if you haven't. So we are left to ponder much about the speaker, about Betty, and if you choose psychoanalytical theory. So if you have an opportunity to go back and read this, what does this say about the speaker? What does this say about their relationship with the aunt? So that's going to be fun. All right. Let's go to they're demolishing the prison off the highway. But with no plans to rebuild, it decays. The structure stands there, unrushed, vulnerable. Behind the barbed wire, the cells are crushed open and naked to street gaze. Cement boxes now half sky. Dust clouds tinged with guilt escape and dissipate. Some will hang in the heavens and some will float off, freed from these walls, inhaled by some wild animal and disappear. Very punchy little poem. So these are some things I said about it. It delights with precise lines and giftedly targeted diction. The title sounds conversational and draws us with a speaker who we could know from our neighborhood, a quick chat on the crosswalk, or even like a dinner dialogue that we're having with somebody. It's like, hey, they're demolishing the prison, and that's an opening to a conversation. But the tone instantly reveals this edifice, which is a symbol of several triggering talking points. Anytime you talk about prisons, that kind of perks people's ire sometimes. The once mighty fortress is no more. So again, this kind of reminded me of Ozymandias, the sonnet, where Shelley elegizes the once great statue of the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II. The speaker is a powerful witness to the destruction and teases us beautifully with diction like unrushed, escape, freed. All of those things make you think of a prison, right? Denoting the hope of prisoners whose echoes we hear and shadows we see. I simply adore the last line of the second stanza, showing the cells open as now half sky. It's very skillful. We are left to carry on the prompt of this conversation with questions about how the prison has fallen, the whereabouts of former prisoners, and what these walls say about the society and our own hearts towards justice and maybe even forgiveness. So, anyone have any thoughts about this one?
As you said, this poet works in all kinds of words in here that are relevant of prison. But some wild animal comes up. That doesn't, to me, that's an interesting switch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that does to this poem, but to me it was the thing that it's almost like where it spins on its heel.
Mm-hmm. I can see how that could happen. If I'm still in the prison type imagery space, maybe we think of prisoners that way as, savage, barbaric, like wild, lock the door, throw away the key type stuff. So almost like caged animals in a zoo almost. So I can kind of see it, but yeah, it is kind of striking, I guess, towards the end to get to something like that. Okay. Yes, sir.
There are two sides to that issue. Going into a wild animal, you're bringing in the whole idea of what is natural. Presumably we all came from. And does it disappear that way? It doesn't answer, that it disappeared doesn't really resolve it at all, which is, I thought, it's very good.
Yes, nor does it have to. I like poems that don't answer questions. I like poems that ask questions and then say, okay, now you deal with it. What are you going to do about it? I think those are some really good works that way. All right, I'm going to hustle on to the final one, the cost of inheritance. The horizon's immeasurable canvas, blurred at the edge of shadows where dogs howl across the fields of rabbits and burrows, and swamp sparrows rustle in the brush under beauty berries and button bush, where the future and its dark seeds sprout near the stands where wilted carnations fall. Faith is the paradox of the Delta. You work forever, never finishing the repairs as the present drains as coarse as the past. Hearing the whispers between memorials and the windmills that pump more than water, between intersections of abandoned churches and essy white cinder block gas stations. Did your dad disinherit your spirit when he left the burden of legacy? The dead watch you from the windows with rotten seals. Bad luck swirls the bluish sky to darkness and drains the horizon of the Delta into the terrain's fecund prediction of more climate change and misfortune. There are not enough shade tree mechanics that are good enough to fix the tractor's rusting by the skinning houses, by barns, next to the windmills on the horizon. On a rare day when things went perfectly, you return to an empty, broken house to learn the Delta ruins, even love. So I said about this one, I feel like it's ambitious in its pursuit of meaning for the ubiquitous condition of the Delta. We can hear the sardonic tone of the crier. I'm hearing like a preacher, a prophet of some sort, screaming for something more than this purgatory. The first stanza blitzes us with these abundant images that seem hopeful, right? Yet we plunge into the depths of bad luck, abandonment, and just downright excrement. Despite the beauty of the Delta, it appears as a doomed wasteland that few escape. The speaker has clearly been a longtime witness to this sarcastic inheritance, as the title indicates. So immediately I was thinking of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg and The Great Gatsby, like, with the spectacles and the Valley of Ashes in this one. And yes, again, I'm bringing up Ozymandias, okay, where he's bringing up like the despair of the statue and how the mighty have fallen, that type of thing. So while the desperate voice clings to some semblance of purpose, there may be even more to gain from the mystery in the last lines, which provide the most heat. Terrence Hayes always talks about the heat of the poem, like where the most tension is. So I felt like it was in those very last lines, even the foundation of this broken house. So advice from Shelley or Eliot might be that from this kaleidoscope of sestets and septets can emerge one or more undeniable images or narratives that strip away the density. So I felt like there was embedded in these like last three lines, like some sort of story or narrative that could possibly come about. It seems like we're getting like a broad paintbrush of what's happening in the Delta, but what I wonder about is who lives there? How long have they been there? Give me like a person who has been there and is dealing with something that, they can't escape from, that type of thing. So that's where the poem has me. Where does it have you? Or what do you wonder about? Yes, sir. Yeah. I used to feel that way about the town I grew up in. It's like people just want to get up and get out, move on. But yeah, I identified a lot with that idea of, is anything ever going to change, or, can I escape?
Isn't there an ambiguity in the very last line? The Delta ruin, that verb, or is that?
I love it. You make the call. An empty house to learn the Delta ruins. Very cheeky. Put on my British hat. All right. Well, I think that is my time. So I want to wish the three candidates or contestants good fortune. And as I said, I'll be here with New Names for Stars if you would like one. And thank you very much.
So here's how it works. Everybody has a ballot. You can tear off the top sheet, circle the one that you want to win. We're going to collect the ballots, count them up real fast, and announce the winner live and on YouTube. And so we will know who won. And when you're done with your ballot, hand it over, and we need somebody to count them, put them in 3 piles. And That's how it works. So if you're at home, give us a few minutes to count these up, and we'll be right back to announce the winner. Okay, while Tina is counting up we're going to announce the winner, and while she's counting up the ballots, I just want to thank Len Lawson for doing a terrific job again. Where'd you go?
He's getting ready to sell books.
Oh, okay. Yes, good. I want to thank Lynn for doing another excellent job on the forum. It was fun. It was nice to be a part of this long tradition and to do something that has been done every year since before any of us were born, and even you, Gene. Also, thank you for this year. This year has been a good one, and we have done very well in covering the state. We have tried to have extra things for Charleston, and if everything goes right, we're going to have a poetry trails in June for Charleston. So there'll be an event, and I hope you will think of coming to that because it's going to be fun. In case you haven't been to a poetry trails, they're more fun than you imagine. Like you think, oh well, what is that really like? Well, it's a lot of fun. And mostly because Tina does such a great job on curating what we do at these things. So keep your eye out for notice about the May Forum. Do we have a winner? Yes. I'm sorry, I said May Forum, but it's Poetry Trails June. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so the winner was, and I can't see the names of the runners up, but the winner was Ed Madden with Dream in Which My Aunt Takes Cuttings. He came in first. Second place was the poem, They're Demolishing the Prison Off the Highway. And I believe the author of that poem is watching us virtually. And the second runner-up is, of course, The Cost of Inheritance. So anyway, that concludes the forum.
Sundown.
Oh, yeah, Sundown.
Tuesday.
A week from Tuesday, the Sundown series. It's been going on almost 50 years, 47 years. It's a good time. It's completely free. It's at Washington Square. There's a great lineup this year, and there usually is. And that's another thing to do during Piccolo Spoleto. There's a not so good website that tells you what the poems are, but if you do a Google search for Piccolo Spoleto Sundown series, you'll get to that website. It looks like they made it in around 1995, and it doesn't give you much to go on, but it does have the names of the poets on the dates. So anyway, keep that in mind. But thank you, and we've got food, and Lynn's got books, and socialize, because this is it. We're wrapping up this year, and thank you for coming, and let's go back and eat. Thank you.